Hi craft friends! Today is Waste Not Wednesday and I have a special project. I've been watching a lot of videos on bead making and I think I have discovered a good use for old telephone book pages. What made me think of it was yesterday we got a new telephone book, and so I have the telephone book from last year that I wanted to do something with instead of throw it in the trash. So I got out my jelly plate and I think I'm going to be able to make some beads with my phone book pages. So what I wanted to do, and I kind of played around with it a bit and I left my jelly plate a little dirty, so it's got some pink and purple and white on it, but I'm just going to take it and make some jelly print paper. It works really well, and then we'll cut it out and make some beads. So first things first, I do a lot of pink and purples, but today I kind of want to go with something a little bit different, so I'm going to go with some brown and green. So let's see what happens with that. Again, I've got out my acrylic paints. This one is in pale green. So I'm just gonna throw some on here. It doesn't bother me too much that the pink is still on there. It's not gonna matter too much because you get some really awesome mixes of colors. So I'm just gonna throw on. This one is in vanilla ice cream. The other one was pale green, and I have some silver. This one is silver sterling metallic. So we're going to see kind of what that looks like. Ooh, that's going to be kind of a neat little design. So here goes the squeaky brayer. I'm going to try to do it slow enough that it doesn't squeak. If I go this way, it doesn't squeak. What's neat about using the jelly plate with phone book pages is that you get a whole lot of prints out of, one jelly plate design. So you get a whole lot of paper to make beads with. That way you get a lot of beads that kind of match. The other great thing is the paper that you're using to roll off your brayer also becomes a usable piece of paper. So I'm not worried about whatever is on my phone book page because we're going to cover it up with paint. So I'm going to place it down like so, give it a good smush. And this is really thin paper, so it's kind of like using maybe deli paper or tissue paper or a dictionary page. So there is our first pull, which looks pretty neat. It's got a lot of the silver and vanilla and the green. So I'm going to set that aside to dry for a few minutes. See, we still have a whole lot of paint left. So I'm going to take my next page, smush it down, and get a pull like that. And if it doesn't cover enough of the phone numbers for you, that's fine. Just keep smushing. Until you feel like you got enough coverage or your jelly plate is clean. That one looks pretty good. All right, I'm gonna go with that. I have some pink ones that I played with earlier. So that's what they look like. All right, now I can set aside my jelly plate. I'll clean it up later. And I'm going to start with this pink one that's pretty dry because I did already dry it. And what we want to do is get kind of a triangle shape out of our paper. So you can, in the videos I watched, they took like a one inch strip or a ½ inch strip and kind of angled the paper a little bit to get something. So that is what we're going to do with that. And again, my paper trimmer is on the fritz, so we're just going to wing it. So there's a nice little sliver we can use. And then if we turn our page this way, we'll get another sliver. And what I'm doing is I am lining up one edge on the 1 inch mark and the other edge on the 1/4 inch mark of my craft mat or my quilting mat. And then I'm just cutting the paper. Now, again, the thing about these are that it's very thin paper, so you have to be a little bit careful because it does tear rather easily. So there's 3. We'll start with that for now, and if we decide to do more, we can do more. I'm also taking a bamboo skewer as my bead turner because I don't have a bead turner. I haven't made paper beads since I was in the 3rd grade, and my mom had the one that I had made her for Mother's Day, and when she passed, I got it back, so that was kind of nice. Anyway, we're going to take our little slivers of paper and we're going to wrap them rather tightly around our bamboo skewer. Now, if you don't want like a tube bead or something like that, you can make these a little shorter on this end because this end is pretty wide. So that's going to be the height of your bead, and that's fine for me, but you can also cut it smaller so that you have a very small bead. And all we're going to do is take our bamboo skewer and roll the paper around the bead or around the skewer pretty tightly, making sure that it's centered all the way around. So again, you want it tight and centered. So I'm just going to start rolling this up like so, making sure that it's tight. So I don't want it to get off center, and I want it to be a pretty even bead. And having a tad bit of difficulty making sure it stays centered. So I'm just rolling it up. And you could use toothpicks if you wanted a smaller bead. You can use a crochet needle or a knitting needle if you wanted it wider. If you're going to use bead centers, uh-oh, see, that's just what I was talking about. I broke it, but that's okay. If you're going to use the bead centers or eyelets or something, you're going to want to make sure you use something at least as big around in diameter as your bead center that you're using. All right, and because I broke it, I'm just going to stop right there. What you're going to need now is some glue or Mod Podge or something. I'm just using Mod Podge because this is some very thin stuff. So there's a little bit of Mod Podge in the cap of my bottle. So I'm just putting a little bit on my finger, and I'm going to put it on the edge of that piece of paper just to make sure we get it closed. Just like that. And I'm just kind of smearing the glue smush around the bead just to make sure that it's all nice and sealed. But we're also going to do some clear embossing just to make sure that it has that nice shine and it seals in and makes it a little bit harder. So there's our first bead. Yay! All right. Now here's the tricky part. You got to be a little bit careful getting this off because you don't want to distort the paper and you don't want to squish it. You could cut your bamboo skewer into a smaller section. I just like, because I like to have something to hold on to. So I'm just going to slide that off just to make sure it comes off. But you can also just kind of leave it at the edge because now we're going to do the clear embossing. So I don't know if you can see. Ooh, pretty in pink. All right, I took my ultra thick embossing powder out of the bottle and I put it into something that was a little bit bigger for me to use. So I just stuck it in a hummus container and I have a spoon. Uh-oh, I have embossing powder everywhere. This allows me to get in there with a spoon and dip and sprinkle and not waste anything, hopefully. So we'll see. And I also have my Watermark Resist. It's a clear ink, and I did something horrible and I set it on its side so all the ink went to the edge. So I gotta fix that. But anyway, so I'm gonna take my bead and I'm just gonna roll it in the ink pad just to make sure it's all wet with ink. And then I'm going to take my embossing powder and just coat it. And then I'm going to heat it up with my heat gun to melt all the embossing powder, and then I'll be right back. All right. I have put on 2 coats of the embossing powder. So now it looks like that, and it's got a whole lot of shine to it, and it's still cooling just a bit. But at this point, we can go ahead, maybe, oh, it's still a little warm, but we want to try and slide that off before it sticks to the skewer. And what we're left with is a little bead like that. And it looks really neat with the painted jelly plate imprint. So this one looks kind of, this one's pretty pink and purple. And it's got a little bit of sparkle in it from the metallic. So it's really fun. The other thing you can do with this is, I don't know if you can tell, but the edges are not real even. So I just want to snip off a little bit just to kind of make that a little more even. So that we have an even opening. Stick it back on the skewer just to make sure those ends are round. Now, if you have a small enough scrapbooking eyelet or something like that, you can use that as the center, or you can just dip it in silver paint to make it look like it's got an eyelet or something on it, and I think that's what I'm going to try right now. So I have a little bit of this silver sterling metallic. I'm just going to put a drop on my craft mat, like that. And then I'm going to do the other side. And now it looks like that. And you can have lots of fun making these beads just with scrap paper, scrapbooking paper, pattern paper. Do the jelly plate foam book pages. You can just spread on some paint and make a design. Use templates, whatever you want, stencils, and have fun with it. This is really awesome. I think I'm going to make a bunch of these for different mixed media projects that I have in mind. And ooh, that makes it really nice and hard when we use the embossing powder. It's really kind of hard. So, yeah, fun. All right, guys, it's been Waste Not Wednesday. This is Elizabeth from BBsButterfly. Like and subscribe. If you have some ideas, something you want to see, just let me know. Bye.